Good morning, sixth graders. I hope everybody is doing awesome today. Today we are going to be working on hooks for our narratives and starting to edit and revise those, as well as a new area of Mesopotamia, or a new subject area of Mesopotamia. Okay, so our book talk today is actually the graphic novel version of a book that we have already book talked this year, and that is The Crossover. The original Crossover is a novel in verse, and this one is a graphic novel. So both formats are really enjoyable. I love novels in verse. I like graphic novels too, but this book is amazing, just the story of it. It's about two twin brothers excuse me, who are both amazing basketball players, and the kind of the rivalry between them, their relationship with their dad has a crazy twist at the ending that you won't see coming, and it's just a really, really good book. Very well written, very entertaining and interesting. Okay, so that's the Crossover graphic novel version. Again, if you are interested in reading that, please email me. Okay, looking at our planner today, we are going to have a mini lesson on adding a hook at the beginning of your story, and then you're going to work on switching up the hook in your story. So, editing and revising your personal narrative. Now that you have completed the planning, pre-writing, and drafting stages of the writing process, we'll now focus on editing and revising our narratives. So it's like we have a good, solid outline or base. Now we're going to switch it. We're going to rearrange it. We're going to tweak it until it is the best piece of writing that we can do at this time. So, did you hook your reader? Great writers are able to hook their readers quickly. A hook is the start of your story. The first few words or sentence should be engaging and intriguing to keep your readers interested in reading the entire story. There are several ways we can hook our readers, and down here are some springboard examples. Ways when I'm looking for a writing trick or looking for good examples of how real authors do things, I just look at their real work. So in your springboard book, we've read lots of great short stories this year. So looking at some of those hooks, the way the authors did those, is a really great idea. Okay, I'm not going to go over these right now, just because you can do it on your own. But these, like right now you're in the video, so you can't click this, but if you go to the slide deck, you will be able to. Okay, and then right here, there are a list of hooks, and these are not all the hooks in the world, okay, but they're kind of just some of the basic ones that you can use. And you've probably been taught these already. I have seen, even with shorter examples of some of your writing, examples of some of these hooks. So a hook is the start of your story. The first few words or sentences should be engaging and intriguing to keep your readers interested in reading the entire story. So the first hook that we have here is a question, okay? So what is the craziest gift you've ever received for your birthday? You'll never believe what I got for my 15th birthday. So that makes your reader go, oh, wow, what did he get? Or what did she get? Okay, the next one is dialogue. You can start with some people talking. Want to go on a boat ride? My dad asked one Saturday afternoon. I've got something neat to show you. So that's kind of interesting too. What would you want to show them on a boat ride? Strong emotion. You want people to understand or to want to know why someone is feeling this way. Fear and excitement both found their home in my heart that day. Okay, sound words. And as you may know, the figurative language appropriate word for sound words is, oh my gosh, I just spaced on it. Onomatopoeia. Sorry, that was weird, but it is kind of a crazy word. So crack, boom, bang. Those are all examples of onomatopoeia. I never knew how loud fireworks were before my crazy birthday adventure. Okay, and then the last one is setting. Describe the time and place. What did it feel like to be there that afternoon? So that, or whenever your story is set. The air was hot, still, and stale. I was sprawled across a lawn chair when I saw my dad walk towards me with the boat keys in his hand. Okay, so that's an example of setting. So All of those are good examples of ways that you can hook your reader. What I don't want to see in your story, please, 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 is something like, now I'm going to tell you about, or let me tell you about. Don't tell me what you're going to tell me about. Just start it, do it, use one of those hooks. You should never in your writing say, or next I'm going to talk about. No, please, please, please do not do that. That is like serious no-nos when it comes to writing. Okay, so I closed the examples of the hook, but in the slide deck, you can go back and look at them there. Okay, so now what you are going to do today, you are going to go back to the narrative and add a hook. And maybe you already have like the best hook ever, but I would love for you to tweak it. If we were in real school, what I have my students do sometimes is I will have them choose 3 different hooks, like the ones we just learned, and have them write a sentence or a statement for all 3 of those for their story, and then kind of decide which one's best. Okay, you have to play around with words. You have to remember it's language arts. It is an art, it's a craft. And you're playing around with your materials, which in this case are your words, to come up with the most beautiful, amazing picture you can, which is your piece of writing. Okay, so play around with it, have fun with it. It really is a craft. All right, so moving on to social studies. I let this one kind of keep the same theme because I thought it was fun. Okay, so we are going to start learning about the Mesopotamian empires. So the other 6th graders had their brochure due today. Yours will be due tomorrow. So you're going to need to work on that this afternoon because, because right now we're going to be kind of moving forward with the Mesopotamian empires. And so we're not going to have time during this class period to work on Mesopotamia. Okay, so Mesopotamian empires is right here. That's the slideshow link. It is also on today's lesson. You can be found on pages 49 through 51 in your textbook. I highly suggest you also read that just so you can get some more information to what we're going to watch today and read today. Okay, so the Mesopotamian empires, there are 4 empires of Mesopotamia. We'll go into those and they're described more in your book. We are going to watch this little video on a rap about Mesopotamia, so that's kind of fun. I still have in my head the Euphrates River song, so it pops into my head randomly. Okay, so let's watch this one. This is the same guy who did the Euphrates River one about ancient Mesopotamia. Kind of excited, I'm not going to lie.
Euphrates River. Hey, I got a new lesson for you about ancient Mesopotamia. The Euphrates River and the Tigris River form the cradle of civilization. Akkadians long ago conquered Sumer, took control. Sargon led his armies in their chariots. They rolled by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Persian Gulfs where they found ancient ruins underground. Archaeologists did lots of excavation down by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, both the Euphrates River and the Tigris River used to flood, bringing lots of fertile mud. But the problem was that water washed away the crops. Dams and levees made it stop. When it was dry, they'd irrigate. Fighting over water led to war between the city-states. Cuneiform is ancient writing that tells us Sumer city-states were always fighting. They were the first civilization in Mesopotamia. Then came the Akkadians who started empire mania. Akkadians long ago conquered Sumer, took control. Sargon led his armies in their chariots. They rolled by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, near the Persian Gulfs where they found ancient ruins underground. Archaeologists did lots of excavation down by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River. King Sargon got real old, told his sons to take the throne, but the huge Akkadian empire would fall out of their control. Then came Hammurabi, who would take full command. Hammurabi was the king of the Babylonians, man. Babylonia was the land where they told you obey Hammurabi's code, praise Hammurabi's code, break Hammurabi's code, and you'll be saying, oh no. Akkadians long ago conquered Sumer, took control. Sargon led his armies in their chariots. They rode by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River. Near the Persian Gulfs where they found ancient ruins underground. Archaeologists did lots of excavation down by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River. Babylonians built roads. They traded grain for gold. They kept themselves united under Hammurabi's code. Hammurabi's code. Hammurabi's code. Hammurabi's code. Hammurabi's code, which was a bunch of laws they believed it had no flaws. They obeyed it just because they thought Hammurabi was chosen by the gods. Oh, chosen by the gods. Oh. Akkadians long ago conquered Sumer, took control. Sargon led his armies in their chariots. They rode by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River. Near the Persian Gulfs where they found ancient ruins underground. Archaeologists did lots of excavation down by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River. Mesopotamia.
Okay, I actually thought that was a different one, but it was the same. But what was cool about it is we're starting every time we watch it, we've learned more about ancient Mesopotamia, so it probably makes more sense to you. It does to me. All right, so our essential question is, why does conflict develop? Why do people fight? So the first empires. How did Mesopotamia's first empires develop? Okay, we've talked a little bit about how Mesopotamia developed, but now how did the first empires develop? So we're going to watch this video. Okay. The four empires of Mesopotamia.
Here we go. We're going to look at four empires of Mesopotamia. Before we look at some of the more powerful empires, we must figure out what an empire is. The dictionary defines an empire as a group of nations or peoples ruled over by an emperor, empress, or other powerful sovereign or government, usually a territory of greater extent than a kingdom. At around 2300 BCE, a group known as the Akkadians conquered Sumer. They made all the city-states part of a single empire. The Akkadians conquered the land and created the world's first empire. They were led by a king named Sargon, who used powerful and smart military strategies to retain power. During the span of the empire, the Akkadians had some great accomplishments. The Akkadian language replaced the Sumerian language. Art flourished with three-dimensional sculptures. One famous 3D sculpture is the Victory Stele, which shows a scene of a military victory. Unfortunately, the Akkadian Empire only lasted about 200 years and fell to new invaders from the north. After the fall of the Akkadians, Sumer went back to being independent city-states until a king named Hammurabi came around. Hammurabi is mostly known for his code of laws, which were used to unify and preserve order. The code spelled out specific punishments for wrongdoing. For example, here's a law. If fire break out in a house, and someone who comes to put it out cast his eye upon the property of the owner of the house, and take the property of the master of the house, he shall be thrown into that selfsame fire. Although the laws seemed harsh, Hammurabi's code was revolutionary because this was the first time where laws were applied to everyone. Also, during the Babylonian Empire, trade flourished, which helped the empire's economy. The next great empire to rule Mesopotamia were a group called the Assyrians. The Assyrians were a warlike people and were feared for their military might and cruelty. Their greatest achievements were their weapons and war strategies. They were excellent at siege warfare and were the first to use the battering ram. The Assyrian Empire lasted for about 300 years and at its height stretched from Egypt to the Persian Gulf. In the end, the territory proved too big to control and was plundered by a few different groups of people. Eventually, the Babylonians once again took control of the area. The Neo-Babylonian Empire's most famous king was Nebuchadnezzar II. Nebs ruled for over 40 years and expanded the empire whenever he could. Nebs worked hard to return the capital of Babylon to the riches it had enjoyed under Hammurabi. Also, one of the wonders of the ancient world was built at Nebuchadnezzar's palace, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. The new Babylonian Empire only lasted about 75 years and was conquered by another great empire, the Persians. As we've seen in Mesopotamia, empires give me some mixed emotions. On one hand, they pumped out some great achievements like the first code of laws, great military achievements, and beautiful wonders of the world. But on the other hand, they are taking over groups of people and forcing their control upon them. Like many other river valley civilizations, Mesopotamia had several empires rise to power and fall apart for one reason or another. That is a common theme that you will see all throughout history. Until next time, that's been your 5 minutes or less. Here's some sources. And
Alrighty, so super interesting in 5 minutes or less. You can, of course, look in your book and search for more information because there's a lot out there. So an empire, like the video said, is a group of many different lands under one ruler. So it's like, I rule all of this land. Okay, so this is a picture of the Mesopotamian Empire. Okay, and then some vocabulary. Sargon was a king who created the first empire. Okay, and then in that empire, the cultures of Akkad and Sumer mixed. And then they've mentioned this in the wrap and back in the video we just watched, and we're going to watch a little bit more about it. It is super interesting. So it's Hammurabi's Code, and it is a set of 282 laws that governed daily life in Babylonian. The earliest known collection of written laws. So Hammurabi's Code and the Bill of Rights, which you might have learned a little bit last year, but probably not, especially with distance learning, but you will learn more about 8th grade. The Bill of Rights is it's part of the Constitution. It's the first 10 laws. So you could compare and contrast the Bill of Rights. So over the centuries, different civilizations used different documents to ensure peace, justice, and a false sense of equality amongst the people. We won't go into that now, but without them, there could be no governing statement to say what can and cannot be done. Hammurabi's Law Code is an example of one of those documents. It is actually one of the first documents of its kind and is one of the foundations of many documents in history and even documents in today's societies. A stellar example is the Bill of Rights, and we're not really going to talk about how they're similar or different today, especially because I do not think you know a ton about the Bill of Rights. At least you haven't learned it in school. Okay, so we're going to watch just one more video for today about Hammurabi's Code. Hammurabi.
Hey guys, welcome to Hip Hughes History. We're doing a world history quickie for you guys out there. How about that? The Code of Hammurabi. It's going to be on the exam. So whether you're a kid in high school or you're a lifelong learner or cray-cray on the internet, let's go get them done right now. So the Code of Hammurabi dates back to Mesopotamia. We're talking 1754 BC. That's a very long, great time ago. And that's why it's really important. The 6th Babylonian king Hammurabi made judgments on civil matters and family matters and sexual matters and slavery matters and inheritance matters and crime and lots of decisions. And he decided to write them down. Whether he wrote them down to self-glorify himself because he was like, yo, I'm a king and I'm really important, or whether they actually were kind of like legal government codes that ran the city is really irrelevant. What's important, and this is kind of the thesis, the big idea, is that these legal codes, these 282 laws, are really going to influence that area for a millennium, for thousands of years, and they're even going to drift into parts of our own legal code. Actually, Hammurabi is etched into the Supreme Court building in Washington, D.C. That's how important it is, kiddies. So let's take a look at it. Let's break it up like a Kit Kat bar. So really, I just want to talk a little bit about generalities. You've all heard kind of the, an eye for an eye. But if you actually read that, and that's code 196, let's go to the tape.
If a man destroy the eye of another man, they shall destroy his eye. If one break a man's bone, they shall break his bone. If one destroy the eye of a freeman or break the bone of a freeman, he shall pay 1 mandra of silver. If one destroy the eye of a man's slave or break a bone of a man's slave, he shall pay 1/2 his price.
Ugh, that's not as cool as you thought it was. Yeah, it's definitely kind of like a caste system. Depending on who you steal from or who you sleep or who you kill, that's going to really determine punishment. And there's really kind of slaves and commoners. There's an upper class, and then there's royalty. And I'm telling you, if you look at royalty the wrong way, they're going to cut your nose off. But really, the majority of Hammurabi's code is actually kind of civil law, like property codes and liabilities. There's actually a minimum wage. There's property rights in there and insurance concepts. And some of the most important concepts are probably in about a third of that document that relate to crime type of stuff. And there's some gruesome stuff in there, man. There really is. But nevertheless, there's also stuff in there about like innocent till proven guilty, and that you have to provide evidence at a trial, and that you have to have witnesses in your favor. And of course, if you're lying, we're going to drown you. But nevertheless, those are the concepts that bleed really into today. And there's a whole bunch of stuff about marriage and sex and divorce, and it gets a little bit creepy, to be honest with you. I don't want to talk about it. I'm feeling comfortable right now. But what I did was I chose my 3 most favoritists Hammurabi codes. Is that how you say that? Let's look at it. All right, 194. Get this one, guys.
If a man has given his son to a wet nurse to suckle, and that son has died in the hands of the nurse, and the nurse, without consent of the child's father or mother, has nursed another child, they shall prosecute her, because she has nursed another child without consent of the father or mother. Her breast shall be cut off.
I'm telling you, it gets really gruesome, and it also gets a little bit weird, like number 209, and I'm going to throw in 210.
If a man has struck a free woman with child and has caused her to miscarry, he shall pay 10 shekels for her miscarriage. If that woman die, his daughter shall be killed.
Oh my goodness, his daughter wasn't even there. And then here's the last one. Maybe this one's my favorite.
If a woman has hated her husband and has said, "You shall not possess me," her past shall be inquired into as to what she lacks. If she has been discreet and has no vice, and her husband has gone out and has greedily belittled her, that woman has no blame. She shall take her marriage portion and go off to her father's house. If she has not been discreet, has gone out, ruined her house, belittled her husband, she shall be drowned.
That's pretty gangster. Yeah, you could take a look at it. I put a link down below. Some of them are pretty funny, but they're definitely really, really important. Not for their gruesomeness, but really for setting kind of that concept of this is what a government does, this is law and order, these are the rules. That's really important. All right, guys, make sure you subscribe to Hip Use History. It's so easy. You just got to press that subscribe button. Whoopie. Subscribe, fun, fast, focus, free.
All right, so a little bit of information on Hammurabi's code. So that's it for today. So for social studies today, I would like for you to read in your textbook. Where is that? So it's back up here. Where is it? Is that somewhere? Okay, I don't remember where. Maybe here. Okay, so pages 49 to 51, that's just 3 pages. And then you need to get finished your Mesopotamia brochure and get that submitted by midnight. Okay? Yes, so that's that. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.